I'm finding out. I'm just going over the information that the brothers be on YouTube. European exploitation of Americans. Okay, the first European contacts with America was by Vickies, led by Leif Erikson, Arkinson, Erikinson, around 1021 AD, as provided by archaeological evidence in New uh, Foundland, Foundland, Canada. However, the events that led the sensation European colonizers of the Americans was Christopher Columbus, boy, or whatever that is. Okay, when Columbus first reached land in America on October the 12th, 1492, who he was an Italian explorer who sailed for Spain and landed on the island in Birmingham's. Birmingham's, I think I'm saying that right. It is important to note that millions of indigenous people were already living in the Americas for thousands of years before any European arrived. Therefore, many historical and indigenous groups considered it inaccurate to say that Europeans discovered America. European exploitation of America. The first European contact with Americans was by Big Kings, led by Leif Erikson, Erikson's around 1021 AD, as proven by archaeological evidence in Newfoundland, Canada. However, the event that led to the sensation of European colonizations of the Americans was Christopher Columbus' voyage. When Columbus first reached had land in America on October the 12th, 1492, he was an Italian explorer who sailed for Spain and launched on an island in the Birmingham. It is important to note that millions of indigenous people were already living in the Americas for thousands of years before any European arrived. Therefore, many historians and indigenous groups considered it inaccurate to say that Europeans discovered America. No, they didn't. So, based upon what I'm seeing here, uh, you already had indigenous people here. So, that's what I'm gonna go on. You know what I'm saying? So, when you call yourself the names Leo, Scipios, and anacondas are not connected to discovery of America and do not belong together. That's why they say you calling yourself an African American, but that's not even true. But the so-called white man, they're not gonna come on here and tell you the truth. They're gonna lie to you. In historical context, the query appears to be misunderstanding of history, conflicting different terms and concepts. That's right, because Africa is two white men. Africa is one white man, and America is another white man's name. So you got two Europeans that that call themselves Africa and then American, and then they renamed the countries, and then they turn around and took the African so-called what they call African American slave. That's why a lot of our people call themselves African and American. How can you be African American, African and American when Africa is made up of a whole uh, content. Africa is not it's not a race, it's a continent. You have many, which means you have many different types of people from all parts of the world that live in different. There are different parts of Africa, so Africa is not just one, just location or whatever. Matter of fact, African people is not the same as our people. They're not the same. We're not the same as no African. I'm not an African, and I'm not an American. You know what I'm saying? But our people call themselves Creole. Some of them say French Creole and all that type of stuff. Um, Creole. Um, some of them call themselves Costa Ricans, stuff like that. But I don't. Those are just names. But if you think about it, none of these things, you will find none of these terms in the Bible. Costa Rican, you ain't gonna find Rican, none of that in the Bible. Puerto Rican, you ain't gonna find that in the Bible. Yeah. The only thing you're gonna find in the Bible is Zebulun, which makes up the 12 tribes of Israel. You're gonna find Ephraim, which makes up the 12 tribes of Israel, which the Puerto Ricans' biblical nationality would be Puerto Rican. I mean, excuse me, Ephraim. Their biblical nationality in the Bible would be Ephraim. Yeah. So um, we've been lied to. Scipio originated in the Americans' ancient DNA shows. Okay. I ain't never went over nothing like this. Scipio originated in the Americans and ancient. Hold on, let me. What is Scipio? Hold on. Scipio originated in Americans and ancient DNA shows, but European colonialism spread it widely. Promograms has finally solved questions that has puzzled researchers for decades. Where did Scipio come from? When you purchase through links on our site, we may earn a fair a fair a variant commission. Here's how it works. Exhibited at the medical Muslim museum, and I don't know what that is. The Denmark shows that three skulls with signs of testery, late stage Scipio image credited Scipio Taylor Army stock photo. I don't know. Okay, the outback of mysterious disease revenge European. I mean, revenge Europe in the late 15th century. Short, short, shortly after Christopher Columbus and his crew returned from the Americans, and and experts have debated for centuries where this muddy medley and now works. I mean, now known as Scipios originated. Now, new research into ancient Gimmons has finally provided an answer. It turned out Scipio came from the Americans and not Europe. Yeah, man. It's just basically just telling you that these names is not. in the Bible. So we was bamboozled by African American, by the name African American. Our people been bamboozled by calling themselves African Americans. That's what I named the video. Our people has been bamboozled by calling themselves African American. That's what it's basically. That's what all this stuff is telling you. So it's best to go and do research on it before you try to debate somebody. You know, people will do it. They be doing it all the time, no matter what you show them, no matter how you point it out to them. They gonna look at nah. You tell them go do the research, they gonna be like, nah, you can't find that. And it's right, you showing it to them, and they'll be literally sitting right there arguing and debating you, and you literally just reading it to them. Nah, nah, I don't accept that. You don't accept the fact that we've been bamboozled and we've been lied to. No, you got some people just that far gone off. So I'm gonna get up out of here, y'all. I'm gonna come back. Let me know what y'all want to see, man, because I'm gonna continue to keep exposing this information because this is some important information. All right, I'm out.